See, this story is so sad. A January 6ther has just been sentenced to 7 years in prison. And he's been sentenced to 7 years in prison after his son, his 19-year-old son, turned on him, turned him in, testified against him. I actually remember this story when it first bubbled up in the media many months ago. This is Guy Reffitt, 49 years old, convicted of 5 felonies in March, and now looking at 7 years in prison. The son, 19-year-old son, said that he was disgusted by his father showing up to the Capitol in Washington, D.C. on January 6th. I don't even know that the father ever even went inside the Capitol. I think he may have just been on the Capitol grounds. The son was disgusted by this. The son said that the father threatened him and his sister if they turned him in. The sister contradicts this narrative. The sister sided with the father. The son testified against the father. What's so sad about this is not only the two-tiered justice system, because if the father had instead been up on charges related to much worse charges at a BLM rally, forget about the Capitol January 6th, if this guy, Guy Reffitt, had done 10 times whatever he did at the Capitol on behalf of the BLM organization, he probably wouldn't have been arrested. He probably certainly wouldn't have been charged. Maybe a little slap on the wrist from the officer. Don't do that again. He'd be right back on the street. But because he's a Trump supporter, he's looking at 7 years in the can. That's not even the worst part. We know about the two-tier justice system. What is so sickening to me about this story is the destruction of this family. That this political movement, by which I'm talking about the left, has turned a family against each other. I'm not saying that the right wing is blameless but I am saying this is being driven by the left. Okay, the January 6th witch hunt, the show trial, the selective prosecutions, the two-tier justice system has created such political pressure and demonized half the country as terrorists and insurrectionists and traitors and threats to the country that you've now got families pitted against each other, a son testifying against his father, which is what the liberals want. That is what the libs are after. They are after the destruction of the family. They are after the destruction of the family because the family is the impediment to their power. Because the family is the fundamental political unit. The libs believe that the fundamental political unit is the individual. That's what they want it to be. When you can break down all of society into just individuals, then it's much easier to gobble them all up into a collective. Leftist political movements have known this for centuries. The conservatives believe that the fundamental unit of society is not the individual, it's the family. That's why we support not only the family, but other associations and civic institutions, because those are mediating institutions between the individual and the all-encompassing state. And the libs want to destroy that, and the basic one they want to destroy is the family. This is why you're seeing the groomer movement from the left. This is why you're seeing the left go into elementary schools and say, hey kids, talk to us about sex. Don't talk to your families about sex. Hey, your name's not really Johnny. Your name's Jane now. I'm going to call you Jane. I'm not going to call you he. I'm going to call you she. We're going to get you on cross-sex hormones. Don't tell your parents. We're going to pass laws that will allow us to groom you in this sexual way without ever notifying your parents. We're going to pass laws to allow you to kill your children through abortion and never have to notify your parents. We want to get between the child and the parents. We think that the parents, the family, is a terrible influence on the kids. We think that we, the state, are a good influence on the kids. So that's why we're going to suppress the family and we're going to encourage the growth of the state. That's what you see in abortion. What is abortion? It's the clearest sort of policy to destroy the family. You're literally killing the kids. You are killing the possibility of the family. This is why you see the articles every time Thanksgiving or Christmas rolls around, all these left-wing articles, how to talk to your crazy conservative uncle at the table, even though you have to talk to him, and here's how you can get through that conversation and convince him to be a leftist. And I say this, I am the crazy conservative uncle. I am the uncle they're talking about, okay? And so I know, I've had these conversations. You don't see that from the right. Very rarely do you see from the right, how to talk to your lesbian, transgender, left-wing cousin at the dinner table. We say, how do you talk to your left-wing relatives? The same way you talk to your right-wing relatives. You treat them like your family because blood is thicker than water and blood is thicker than the CNN airwaves, okay? That's what conservatives believe. The left wing thinks that political ideology trumps every single thing else, and they look at the family as the enemy. It's a consistent pattern here. And so when a family is destroyed because of this January 6th stuff, no one's blameless. I'm not saying any political movement is totally pristine and angelic. That doesn't exist in politics. But this is being driven by the left. And when that happens, the left is giddy to watch a family break up. You want to talk about family? There's a story I meant to get to yesterday. Sydney Sweeney is an actress on The Handmaid's Tale. You probably have not watched The Handmaid's Tale. I have not. I did watch a few of the first episodes just to see what it was about. I couldn't keep watching. It just seems kind of like softcore porn for women. It just seems like kind of these weird sexual fantasies that women have that's not based on reality. We're not living in anything like The Handmaid's Tale in America, but women have this kind of fantasy that we are, sort of like 50 Shades of Grey. So I said, okay, this is too weird. I'm not going to keep watching this. But Sydney Sweeney apparently is one of the actresses on Handmaid's Tale. And she just came out and complained about the way that Hollywood treats women. And she didn't complain about it in the usual way. And she didn't complain about the treatment of women in the way you might expect from The Handmaid's Tale, which is that the conservatives and the patriarchy and the right wing is oppressing women. No, it was the opposite. It was that leftism, feminism, is harming women. She says, I want to have a family. I've always wanted to be a young mom, and I'm worried about how this industry puts stigmas on young women who have children and looks at them in a different light. I was worried that if I don't work, there's no money and no support for kids that I would have. She made this complaint to Amy Adams, and Amy Adams told her, no, it can be done. You're going to have kids at a young age. But the insecurities over her financial health and the momentum of her career remain years later. This young woman, I think, is 24. She's in her mid-20s somewhere. Very, very sad how confused she is. And it's very sad that Hollywood does put this stigma on women who have families. It's almost as if the real threats to women are not coming from the conservatives. They're coming from the leftists. It's almost as if The Handmaid's Tale is depicting the opposite of reality. It's almost as if feminism isn't really good for women. It's almost as if, ever since the advent of feminism in the 1970s, modern feminism, you've seen women's happiness consistently decline, both in absolute terms and relative to men. It's almost as if leftism is a total psyop and it's making women completely miserable. A family would make this woman happy. It's not just me making an observation. She knows that too, and she feels that she can't support the family. Why not? Well, she says, well, what if I don't make enough money? I can't work. And that's an amazing statement. She's a beautiful, successful young woman. Did it never occur to her that when she has a child, she would do that in a marriage, and that her husband might work and be able to support her while she's taking care of her child? It's amazing. This woman believes that she is going to have to carry the burden entirely herself. She's going to have to make all the money. She's going to have to care for the kid entirely herself. She's going to have to continue to work, and they're not going to want her to work because Hollywood doesn't like mothers. Hollywood doesn't like families. Hollywood likes people to remain 19 years old forever. And when women age, they want to encourage them to pretend to be 19 years old forever. It's never occurred to her, and I bet that's true for a lot of women. But ladies, there is another option. You could get married. You could take care of your kid. Not all of life is about money. Not all of life is about looking young forever. Not all of life is about what feminism tells you life is about. And the real oppression, the real things that are making you miserable, it's not coming from those right-wingers. It's not coming from the people they tell you to fear. It's coming from your own sides. I'm glad you liked that clip. Folks, we hit 1 million subscribers on the YouTube channel. We did that pretty much 2 days before my second baby boy was born into this world. It's a good week, is what I'm saying. Now, let's turn it up a notch. Let's take that 1 million subscribers. Let's make it 1 billion. I want 1 billion YouTube subscribers. Please ring the bell, subscribe, get the notifications. We'll see you next time.